Stop scrolling. Seriously. If you're on Social Security or if someone you love is collecting benefits right now, you need to hear this before April 1st. Most people don't realize what's changing until it shows up as a problem in their bank account, and by then, it's already too late to do anything about it. So stay with me for a minute, because what I'm about to walk you through could save you from a real headache, and possibly protect hundreds of dollars that you've already earned and you absolutely deserve to keep. Now, I want to start by saying this in a calm, clear way, because I know headlines like this can feel scary, and the last thing I want is for you to panic. This is not a doom and gloom situation, but it is a situation that requires your attention. There's a new rule taking effect. There are changes to how Social Security is processing certain accounts, and there are specific steps you need to take before April 1st to make sure your benefits are protected, your payments are on time, and nothing unexpected happens on your end. I'm going to walk you through all of it, step by step, in plain English. No confusing government language, no legal jargon, just a straight, honest conversation, the same way I'd explain it to my own family. So let's start at the beginning, because I think it's really important that you understand the full picture here, not just the headline, but the background behind it. For the last couple of years, the Social Security Administration, which I'll just call the SSA from here on out, has been going through what they're calling a major modernization effort. Now that sounds like a fancy term, but what it really means is this. They're updating their systems, tightening their verification processes, and changing how they handle accounts, payments, and personal information. Some of these changes are genuinely good. They're designed to reduce fraud, protect beneficiaries, and make the system run more efficiently. But here's what a lot of people don't realize. When a government agency this large makes sweeping changes to how it operates, the people who pay the price for any confusion are often the everyday recipients, the seniors, the disabled individuals, the survivors, the people who depend on these payments to keep the lights on and food on the table. And that brings us to April 1st. The SSA has announced updates to their identity verification and direct deposit confirmation requirements that are going into effect this spring, and the core of what's changing boils down to this. If your account information, your identity documents, or your direct deposit details have not been recently verified or updated within their system, your payment could be delayed, flagged, or in some cases temporarily held, while the SSA tries to reconcile the information on file. That's not a scare tactic. That's the actual policy language, translated into real-world terms for you. Now stay with me, because I want to explain why this is happening, because it actually makes more sense when you understand the context. Over the past few years, fraud against Social Security recipients has increased dramatically. Criminals have gotten smarter. They've figured out ways to redirect benefits to different bank accounts by calling in fake changes, by intercepting mail, and by using stolen personal information to make unauthorized updates to people's accounts. In 2024 alone, the SSA flagged hundreds of thousands of suspicious account changes. Hundreds of thousands. And a significant number of real beneficiaries had their payments diverted to fraudulent accounts before they even knew what was happening. So the SSA made a decision. They were going to tighten the verification process. They were going to require more confirmation before processing certain changes. And they were going to conduct an internal sweep of accounts that had outdated or unverified information. That sweep and those new requirements, that's what's kicking in around April 1st. Here's what that means practically for you. If your bank account information on file with the SSA is current and verified, and your identity information matches what they have in their system, you're likely fine. Your payments should continue without interruption. But if you haven't logged into your My Social Security account recently, that's the official online account at ssa.gov, or if you've changed banks, changed addresses, or had any kind of life change in the last year or two without updating the SSA, this is the moment you need to take action. Let me give you a real-life example, because this part is important. Let's say there's a woman. I'll call her Margaret. Margaret is 72. She lives alone, and she's been getting her Social Security deposited into the same checking account for about 6 years. Last year, her bank merged with another bank. The account number stayed the same, but the routing number changed. Margaret didn't think much of it. Her debit card still worked, her online banking looked the same, and nobody told her she needed to do anything differently. But here's the problem. The routing number that the SSA has on file for Margaret is the old one. The bank technically kept things working on the back end for a while, but when the SSA runs their verification sweep this spring and that routing number doesn't match what the bank currently reports, Margaret's payment could bounce back to the SSA. And instead of hitting her account on her normal payment date, it could be held for days, sometimes even weeks, while the SSA figures out what happened. Margaret didn't do anything wrong. She didn't commit fraud. She's not in trouble, but she still has to deal with a delayed payment, a phone call to the SSA, which, as many of you know, can mean waiting on hold for an hour, and potentially a stressful few days wondering where her money is. That story plays out thousands of times every time there's a major system update. And I'm telling it to you because I don't want it to be your story. So let's talk about what you actually need to do before April 1st. Let's take a step back and go through this in a really clear, organized way. The first thing you need to do is check your My Social Security account. If you don't have one yet, this is the time to create it. Go to ssa.gov. That's the official website. And I want to be very clear about that. ssa.gov, not any other website that might look similar. On that site, you can create a free account that gives you access to your benefit information, your payment history, your direct deposit details, and much more. If you already have an account, log in and make sure everything looks correct. Check your address. Check your bank account information. Look at your direct deposit details, the bank name, the account number, the routing number, and compare those to what your bank currently shows. If anything has changed, even slightly, update it now. Don't wait. The second thing to check is whether the SSA has your current mailing address. This matters even if you get your payments by direct deposit, because the SSA sends important notices by mail. If they try to reach you about a verification issue and the letter goes to an old address, you won't know there's a problem until your payment doesn't show up. So make sure your address is current. If you've moved in the last year or two and haven't updated the SSA, call them or update it through your My Social Security account today. The third thing, and this is one that a lot of people overlook, is to make sure your identity documentation is current with the SSA. For most people, this means making sure your Social Security number, your date of birth, and your name are all recorded correctly. Sounds simple, right? But you'd be surprised how many accounts have small discrepancies. A middle name listed differently, a hyphenated last name that was entered without the hyphen, or a date of birth that was accidentally transposed during data entry years ago. These small things usually don't cause problems day to day, but during a verification sweep, they can trigger a flag. If you've ever had your name legally changed, through marriage, divorce, or a court order, make sure the SSA has the updated name on file and that it matches your government-issued ID. Now here's something I really want to address because this is where a lot of people get tripped up, and this part is important. When news like this comes out, new rules, changes to Social Security, deadlines approaching, the scammers come out of the woodwork, and in 2026 they are more sophisticated than ever. I'm talking about people who will call you on the phone and tell you that they're from the Social Security Administration and that your benefits are about to be suspended unless you verify your information right now, over the phone, with them. They will sound official. They will use real-sounding department names. They might even have your partial information, which they'll use to make you think they're legitimate. Here's what I need you to write somewhere and remember forever. The real SSA will never call you and ask you to verify your Social Security number, your bank account information, or your personal details over the phone out of the blue. That is not how the SSA operates. If you get a call like that, hang up. It is a scam. If you're worried, call the SSA directly at their official number, 1-800-772-1213, and they will tell you whether there's actually anything you need to do. But do not give your information to someone who called you first. Not ever. Now, let's talk about who is most affected by these changes, because it's not the same for everyone. If you're receiving retirement benefits and you've had the same bank account for years, and nothing in your life has changed recently, your risk of disruption is relatively low. You should still log in and double-check, but you're probably in good shape. If you're receiving supplemental security income, SSI, the stakes are a little higher because SSI recipients tend to have more complex eligibility rules, and the SSA tends to do more frequent reviews on those accounts. If you're on SSI, definitely take the time to verify your information before April 1st, and if you're not sure how to do that, I'll come back to that in a moment. If you're receiving Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI, same advice. Log in, verify, confirm. Disability cases can be particularly sensitive to flags in the system because there are often more documents on file and more conditions associated with the account. And if you're a survivor receiving benefits on behalf of a deceased spouse or parent, this is a group where discrepancies are especially common. The account may have been set up years ago, and there may be information on file that's outdated or doesn't reflect the current situation. If that's you, please take the time to review the account carefully. Let me also talk about what's changing in terms of how the SSA is handling in-person services, because this connects to everything we've been discussing. The SSA has been rolling out changes to its field office operations, and some of those changes affect how you can make updates to your account. In some areas, certain types of changes, like direct deposit updates, now require in-person verification at a local SSA office, especially if the change is being made for the first time, or if there are other flags on the account. This is specifically designed to combat fraud, and it makes sense from a security standpoint. But it also means that if you need to make a change and you can't easily get to an SSA office, maybe you don't drive, maybe you have mobility limitations, maybe the nearest office is far away, you need to start that process now, before April 1st, because there may be wait times involved. If getting to an office is a challenge for you, don't hesitate to call the SSA and explain your situation. They do have accommodations for people who cannot easily come in person. There are also Social Security representatives and certified benefits counselors in many communities who can help you navigate this at no cost to you. Area agencies on aging in your community can often point you toward these resources. If you're not sure how to find them, searching for your city or county's area agency on aging is a great starting point. Here's what a lot of people don't realize. You don't have to figure this out alone. There are people whose entire job is to help Social Security recipients understand and manage their benefits. If you're confused, if you're not tech-savvy, if you don't feel comfortable doing things online, reach out. Ask for help. This is too important to guess your way through. Now, let's talk about the financial implications, because I think this deserves its own moment. For most Social Security recipients, this monthly payment is not extra income. It is the income. It covers rent. It covers prescriptions. It covers groceries. When something goes wrong with that payment, even for just a few days, it can create a cascade of problems. A late rent payment, an overdraft fee, a missed medication refill. The financial ripple effect of even one delayed payment can be genuinely significant for people living on a fixed income. That's why I want to be really direct with you. Taking 30 minutes before April 1st to verify your account information is not optional, not something to get to later, not a task for next month. It is the most financially protective thing you can do right now. 30 minutes of your time to protect a payment you've spent your whole working life earning. That's a trade worth making. And there's one more thing I want to mention, because it's coming and it will affect future payments as well. The SSA is continuing to roll out new identity verification requirements tied to their login.gov and ID.me integration. What that means is that over the coming months, accessing and managing your My Social Security account online will increasingly require a verified digital identity, not just a username and password, but a confirmed identity linked to your government ID. If you haven't gone through that process yet, it's worth doing now. The SSA's website walks you through it, and it typically takes about 15 to 20 minutes if you have your ID handy. Getting that set up before April 1st means you'll be ahead of the curve as these new requirements come fully online. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge that all of this can feel overwhelming, especially if you're not someone who spends a lot of time on government websites or dealing with bureaucratic processes. I hear you. This system is complicated, and the SSA is not always the easiest organization to deal with. But here's the thing. You've already done the hard part. You worked, you paid in, you earned these benefits. Protecting them is just the final step in honoring all of that work, and you deserve to receive every dollar that's coming to you without interruption. So let me leave you with a very simple checklist in plain terms. Before April 1st, log into ssa.gov and review your account. Confirm your direct deposit information matches your current bank account and routing number. Make sure your address is current. Make sure your name and personal details are accurate. If you've had any life changes, a move, a new bank, a name change, update them now. If you're not sure how to do any of this, call 1-800-772-1213 or visit your local SSA office. If someone calls you claiming to be from the SSA and asking for your information, hang up. That is a scam. And please, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Your neighbor who's on a fixed income, your parent or grandparent who might not know about this change, your friend who mentioned recently that they've been dealing with Social Security questions. A lot of people are going to be blindsided by this because they simply didn't know in time. You know now. Pass it on. Ask it. Don't leave money on the table. Don't let a paperwork issue or an outdated routing number disrupt the payment you've spent decades earning. Check your account before April 1st. Stay informed about what the SSA is doing, and if something feels off, trust that instinct and make the call. You have every right to protect your benefits, and you have every right to get answers. Stay safe, stay informed, and take care of yourself. You've earned it.